Hi, welcome back to the Part a Day project. So I have a part over here, and actually I had a request because I had in the document that I had sent for one of the assignments, I had shown you how to make this by a subtractive technique. And what I'd like to show you right now is to create this part doing an additive technique and a subtractive technique. So we'll do it once both ways. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and I'll start a new part. We'll note here that by the nature of these dimensions, we should be in millimeters. So I'll set myself to millimeter gram second. And I'll go ahead and I'll create a sketch. And I'm going to create my first sketch on the front plane. So move that over so you can see. So I'm going to create a 35 by 50. So I'm going to do this subtractive first. So I'm going to make myself a box of 35 by 50 by 70. And so I'll go ahead and create a corner rectangle. I'll go ahead and put my smart dimensions in, make this 50, make this one 35, and we will go for an extrusion. Again, I like to go back into the sheet because I'm always thinking of this as being the front plane, and we'll make that 70. All right, I'll drop it back into an isometric view. For that, I can hit Control 7. And let's think of what we're going to subtract out of this. Well, the main thing that's going to come out of this would be this block missing in the middle and probably this little piece here. So let's go ahead and do that. I'll do a sketch. And notice that we're going to be coming up from 12. We could do a subtraction here, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to essentially make my sketch on this plane, and then when I do the cut, I'm going to do an offset cut of 12. So let's go ahead and do that. I'll make a sketch onto this plane. Of course, I don't like looking at it like that. I want to look at it essentially this way so I can see what I'm doing. I don't like to flip upside down in the way I'm looking at stuff. So I'm going to select this plane as being the one I want to draw on or select on. So I'm just going to select the plane, right click, and oh, the option isn't there when I do it this way, when I'm in the middle of the sketch. News to me. So I am going to go to my view orientation and I'll select this side. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make myself a rectangle here. And let me put some dimensions in. So the dimension here is going to be 14. And the dimension of this wall again is 14. So we'll put that dimension in over here as being 14. And then I want to leave some of this wall, and I just want to remove this material. So the width of this one is 8, and the width of this one is 50. So what I need to do, I'm just going to create another rectangle here from this corner, and I'll come down, and what I'm going to do is I will put a smart dimension here and make that 8. And the distance of this thing is 30. So I'll put my my dimensions here and make that 30. Now it might be a little, I think I put 300 in, I did. So let me double click on this thing again, all the way down here. So I want that to be 30, not 303. All right, so let's take a look at what I'm doing over here. And the material, not the best way of looking at it. So let me do my view orientation here again. So the material I'm going to remove is in here. And I'm going to go all the way up through it. So what I'm going to do now is go Features, Extruded Cut, and the contour that I'm going to select is here. It's going to remove the material, and then I want to go not from the sketch plane, but I'll do an offset of 12 millimeters, and and I got to flip the direction of that offset, and then not go blind. We'll go through all to maintain our design intent. All right, so that's what we have going on right now, and then I really just need to trim this piece out, this little cutout here, and this little cutout here. So what we're going to do is I will sketch onto, now again we're coming up from this distance as being 12. Of course I can subtract it again, but why don't I sketch onto this face again? And I basically just need to, I can use the convert entities here to select that edge, and this edge, so I don't have to redimension any of that. And then I just need to make another line. Well, let me actually convert these entities as well. I'll select these two. And then the line that I need to draw is across here. And that line is going to be a distance of 50. So let me kind of rotate out and let's take a look at what we have over here. So we have this little L shape that I'm going to use to cut out. So let me go ahead and use my trim tool to select those. Now I have my rectangle. And now I'm going to do an extruded cut again. So go to my Features tab. I'll do an extruded cut. Now it's only a single closed contour, so I'm going to flip the direction. I'm going to go through all, but before I do that, I'm again going to offset from the sketch plane a distance of 12 millimeters. And once I do that, I now have this piece done. And now I'm just going to put my last two cuts in. Okay, so the last two cuts are these little rectangular cuts, and I'll do them as two separate features. So I'm going to create a sketch onto this plane, and I will just use the rectangle tool and put my dimensions in from here to here. The dimension is 18. This dimension is 18. And the distance down is 6. And I can do features, extruded cut. Now, of course, I could go all the way through the part, but in a situation like this, when something might change over here, instead of doing blind or through all, you should just do up to next. So it'll do the cut until it sees another surface. So in this case, it'll see this surface, and that's as far as the cut will go. And then the last piece that we'll do is we'll do a sketch onto this face. We'll make our rectangle, and our distances are the width is 8, and the distance from here to the front, or that edge, is 32, and the total width of the slot itself is 20. And we will do a features, extruded cut, and again we will go, in this case, we'll go through all. So we'll put this into an isometric view, and we'll compare it to the part that we've already done, and I think it looks okay. So we can actually take a look and we can evaluate and go to its mass properties, and we'll kind of remember this one, 71.16 grams. I could, of course, put a material on it now. Maybe we should do that, give it a more realistic material. So I'll right-click on the material. Let's make it nickel. And now let's take a look at its mass properties. So we have a mass of 604.83. So you can make a note of that yourself, and we will go ahead and make this part again now. But this time we'll do it in an additive technique. All right, so I'll leave that part there, and I'll just go ahead and create a new part. Again, setting this to millimeter gram second. And in this case, I'm going to make the base plane first. And we're going to do a little bit of both, but we could actually make it completely additive if we account for this little cutout. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll create a sketch on the top plane. And now the right plane is down here. So when I create my sketch, I'm going to go up in this direction. So this will be 50. This will be 70. And I can utilize a rectangle to put this little rectangle again. And again, we utilize the same dimensions as we had before. So this will be 32. This is 20. Oh, wrong line. Easier to grab that one. And the width here is 8. And this whole thing now will be extruded up a distance of 12. Again, some people might go, why don't I cut this point out? Because I really don't need to. I don't like to do extra work with my sketches. If I don't absolutely have to, excuse me, that was a yawn. So I'm going to go Features, Extruded Boss. I'll just select that. And we're going to go up a distance of 12. Okay, so now maybe we want to add in this little corner piece, or I can add in this, well, I can add in most of this wall right now if I want to do it that way. So let me make a sketch onto this face, but there's 2 different levels here, so maybe we should just do this little piece first, and we'll do that by I don't want to snatch the midplane here, because this is not at the midplane. It's over here somewhere, the midpoint rather. So I'll come over, I'll come down, and come across. And I could use Convert Entities, but I might as well just finish it off in that manner. So I'll use my Smart Dimension tool to make this distance 8. And again, this distance is specified in this manner using that 50. The length of this line is 30, and the width of this is 14. And now we'll again do a Features, Extruded Boss, and in this case we are going to come up another 12. So this was my second part that I've added. And now what we'll do is we'll add in this. Again, I'm not going to do any cuts here. So we're just going to add in this back wall, and we'll do that. We'll do Sketch. So all I'm going to do is I will start from here. I will sketch down. There's a little nub over here, and I'll come down, back here. And you'd be tempted to leave it there, and I could, but what I want to do is actually finish the sketch so that because my Shaded Sketch Contours is on, I'm able to see that now I have a closed sketch. So I'm going to right-click over here on Sketch to again go normal to it, and let's put in the couple dimensions that I need. So this dimension here is 18. That takes care of this one. That's the 14 dimension. And this distance here is again 14. Okay, so now I have to extrude this up the rest of the way. So it's 12 and 12 and 35. So I can, yeah, that's simple enough math to do, but I can do Features, I can do an Extruded Boss, and now the distance is going to be 35 minus 12 minus 12. So I'll just do that right here. I'll do 35 minus 12 minus 12. And that's going to give me the, no, just a minus 112. Okay, I'm being silly over here. So it's 35 minus 12, and that gives me that total distance. So now I have this little pillar here and the little thing in the middle. So what I can do is I can do all of that as a single piece, but I'll sketch it from this side. So I'll do a sketch from over here, and I'm going to do this as 2 rectangles. So I'll do a rectangle here, that'll come up, and I'll do a rectangle here and come down to the bottom. I have a lot of my dimensions already, so I'll select this line, and we'll make those collinear. And the total depth here from between this line and this line is 6. And the distance here has to be 18. And at that point, everything's fully constrained. And I'll just go Features, Extruded Boss. So I'll select my two closed contours. I'm going to flip this part, and instead of going through all or up to next, I can now just do up to surface. See, the option here is up to surface, and I can select that surface. So again, we don't have to put an extruded value in there, or a value for that extrude. So again, let me put this in isometric mode. So we get to see, does everything look okay? And let me expand this out. We can put my two parts side by side and see how everything looks. They look like they're the same. Let me go ahead and add this material to be nickel. And so I'm in this window here, so when I select on Mask Properties, this one is coming over here, so my mass is 548.05 grams, which is not what I have over here, right? Let's go over here and check what's going on over here, and my mass properties are 604.83. So now we have to figure out what is different between these two. So what we can do, right, we can figure it out ourselves, but then we have another option here, which is kind of cool. We can go up here, I'm in the Evaluate tab, and we can go Compare Documents. And we can see what's wrong with them. So let's assume that I made this left one correct. So that'll be part 1, and we'll assume that part 2 is our modified documents. I'll select on that. And what we can do is we can select Features or Geometry or Document Properties. What I'll do is I'll select Geometry. And in this case, we want to make sure, well, let me just do Features. I think that'll work out for us. So we'll do a Run Comparison. And they show us the two parts. They show us that the mass is different. So we got some issues going on here. So let's go over here, and we can do a better comparison, but let's just check out where the origin is. So the origin for that part is here, and I believe I made it in the same way. So our origins are in the same place. So that's going to allow us to go back to our Compare Documents, and now we'll verify the geometry. And we will align. What's going on here? I have to choose the parts. That would be helpful. And we'll go to part 2. We'll select Align the Parts on the global coordinate system, and we'll run our comparison. So what we want to do here is compare the geometry results. So what they do is they show us the two things are here. So they show us the common volumes. So if I select that off, or turn the visibility of that off, and we can see which one would. So this one is saying that I have to add a whole bunch of material. So it seems as if I made a mistake in the extrusion height at one of these steps, right? Because I could remove the material here, or I would have to remove, so I have to add material to this one or remove material from this one. So there's something wrong with the height. So let's go back and figure out what I did wrong here. So this is the first part. So you can see here that the two heights, now that we take a good look at it, we can see that the distances are not exactly the same. When you take a good look at it, this one looks thinner than this one. So we can go back to our drawing and say which one is the correct height. So here's the distance of 12. Let me go to my Evaluate tab, go to Mass Properties. I can go to my Measure tab, select here, and that distance, I have two things selected there. Let's clear those. And we're in inches for some reason, even though we set that. So let's go back into my units here, and we'll use the document settings. So let's select this one more time. And the distance here is 10 millimeters. So there's something wrong with this part. So let's go ahead and see how I did that. And it's pretty obvious because the way I made this part, this was my sketch. So when I made my boss extrude, I wasn't paying attention. Maybe some of you caught it right from the get-go. This should have been 12. Okay, now my two parts should be equivalent to each other. So I'll check my mass properties here, 604.83, and come over here and again check my mass properties, 604.83. So the moral of the story is it is easy to make mistakes, and you have to be able to double check your work and have a way of figuring out how to get there. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this part-a-day model, and hopefully we'll see you tomorrow.